Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. So today, funnily enough, back here again, Euston Wall. Today's video, I'm basically going to take it a bit more easy, do some more technical focused work. So I'm going to drop the kind of grades that I'm going after. So more kind of highest, maybe V5, probably V4. And I'm just going to really focus on my technique. So a couple of reasons really. One, to improve my technique, and secondly, I've got a game tomorrow for hockey, so kind of want to take it easy and rest before that, playing against top of the league, so should be a big game. But yeah, so I'm going to do some more technical focused stuff. I want to make sure it's not boring. So what I'll try to do is give some kind of pointers, which will be more useful for kind of early level climbers. So I'm not that fantastic at climbing myself, but I've climbed V8, so I kind of obviously have some techniques that are pretty useful. So I'll hopefully be able to be giving some useful tips to people that are watching this. And yeah, I hope you find it useful. So just going to jump on this orange V2, kind of my anti-style. A lot of flexibility required for this, which, as I'm sure you know, not for me. But yeah, a couple key things with this one is more about using both of these angles and pushing my hips into the wall this way, where there's a bit of a gap. That'll keep my centre of gravity further into the wall, which will stop me from falling out. So that's kind of the key with this climb here. Okay, going to jump onto this yellow V2 next. Nice big holds. Let's get up to the top, which looks like a thumb press finish. So it's going to be crucial that my feet are in a good position so I can actually match the last hold. All the feet are quite small, so really here, footwork is going to be very important on these climbs because the footholds are so small. So I'm going to make sure that my foot placement, I'm very careful with that. So I'll probably be climbing quite slowly, and the key with the foot placement as well is to try and make sure that my feet are really quiet when I place them down. I don't want to be stamping on the holds. I want to place my feet very quietly. So that's another thing that I'm going to work on. So the key to that last move, I don't know if you noticed from the angle on the camera, but once I got my foot on these two holds, made sure that my hips were as far into the wall as possible, like this, which put my centre of gravity through my feet. As I demonstrated, I could take my hand off the wall after that. So that's what allowed me to then match the top with the little thumb press. Okay, so I'm moving on to a different style of wall now. This one is slightly overhanging. I'll try and demonstrate that from the angle here. You can see there's a slight overhang to it. It might be, I don't know, 80 degrees, 85 degrees, something like that. So we're going to jump on this V1. And there's a couple of things about the technique that will be quite key on overhangs, which I'm going to talk through ideally as I climb actually. Okay, so on an overhanging route like this, where climbers tend to go wrong, they stay very square to the wall, so their hips will be facing the wall itself, and they don't actually use their hips to bring their body closer. So what I'm going to be doing a lot of on this, because it's overhanging, I'll be dropping my knee like this, for example. So I'll drop my right knee to reach with the right hand for a hold, and if I want to reach with the left hand to a hold, I will drop my left knee in. And what that does is it turns my hips and gets my body much closer to the wall, more weight through my feet, allowing me to reach a lot further as well, as opposed to being square on. When I'm then reaching, I'm reaching further to the hold, for one, and also my hips are further out from the wall. Okay, so keys here are just going to be turning my hips in towards the wall to reach the next holes. And the other thing to note as well that you might have seen there is that I was flagging a lot. So once I'd done the drop knee, I'm then pushing against the wall with my flagging foot, pushing into the wall to allow myself to remain more stable. It's another key tip. Okay, I'm going to jump into the cave now. And very similarly to the last route, which I just showed, this was slightly overhanging. This is obviously extremely overhung, nearly 90 degrees really, this roof to the floor. So a lot of weight going through your hands, a lot more than on any other kind of route. So key here is to try and take as much weight off my hands as possible. I want to be climbing with straight arms rather than bent arms. Bent arms are going to be really fighting quite hard. So straight arms are going to be a lot more relaxed and a lot more energy conserved from doing that. Now, key here is trying not to cut feet. So I'm going to try and push very hard through my toes on the footholds that are on here, just to make sure that my feet don't slip off. Because obviously if the feet come off, then all the weight goes back through my hands. So key here is then to keep my hips in and up as before. A lot of weight through the feet, and also once again moving my hips and dropping my knees to allow my body to get in better positions to climb more efficiently. Okay, so I'm going to replicate the exact same principles, but rather than doing it on a V2, I'm now up the grade, doing it on a V4. Exactly the same principles apply. I'm going to try and replicate it and do it just as smoothly as I did in the last one. That was quite poor. You can tell, I'm sure you can tell. Cut my feet here going up to this move. So yeah, quite disappointed with that, to be honest. That's something that shouldn't have happened. I just didn't put enough tension through my foot on this hold. That's why the foot slipped off and I cut feet for a little bit. So, poor. Okay, so I'm going to jump on this white V3 now. And exactly the same principles apply. This is kind of starting outside the cave on a bit of a slab wall, and then it moves into more of a slightly overhung section of the route as well. So what I'm going to do is try and keep my hips as far towards the slab as possible. It's going to take a lot of the weight off my hands, and then for the rest of it, obviously when it's a little bit more overhung, get my hips close to the wall and keep the tension through my feet as before. Now there's a couple of other things that I've not mentioned, but I've actually done when I was climbing. So you may have noticed a really subtle toe hook on this. When I was reaching for one of these holds up here, all I was doing was using that to stop me from swinging out, just anchoring my body towards the wall, really pulling with my toe to bring it up to keep my foot attached to the hold, which allows me to be a lot more stable when I'm then going for the next hold. And then on the V4 red, there was a point where I did a heel hook. You couldn't have seen it from the camera, but on this hold here, I hooked my heel into that for exactly the same reason, just to stop myself from falling off the wall. So yeah, those toe hooks and heel hooks, really very handy when you're progressing up the grades for sure. Okay, I'm going to move on to this V5 red now. The wall is pretty much 90 degrees. So yeah, once again, really key to keep my hips as close to the wall as possible. A couple of things in this one, I might need to be a bit more square on for this. But more importantly, there's not many feet for me to use. I'm going to have to use the volumes quite a lot. So key with the volumes is keeping your heels down, okay? The way your feet stay on these holds, these volumes, is through friction, and you get more friction, obviously the more surface area of your foot that is on the volume. So if my toe is down and my heel is up, I've only got a very small point of contact on the volume itself, so I'm much more likely to slip off. Whereas when my heel is down, the amount of surface area of my foot that's on the volume is a lot more, so I'm less likely to fall off. So it's going to be really key that I keep my heels down so I don't fall off. There. Okay, so I've just fallen off this route quite a few times now, and I realised it's because I'm doing it wrong. I've misread it. So it's actually meant to be a dynamic start move, which I thought I could span it, but I couldn't quite do that. I don't think that's the way it's set now. I think it's actually set as a dynamic movement. That's another thing with climbing. One of the biggest factors of why you might be failing is because you don't read the route correctly. The best way to get better at that is obviously practice reading the routes and also climbing with people that are stronger than you. Other climbers that are better than you, they'll see things in a different way, and then the more you work closely with them, the quicker you'll pick up little key technical points and be able to read routes much more clearly. So that's something also to be done. But yeah, for this one, the dynamic move at the start, which I'm going to demonstrate in a second, what I'm trying to do is arc my body weight to swing round and into the wall, because otherwise I'll be falling away from the wall the entire time. So I'm going to swing in with a bit of momentum off my right foot to try and get my hips and my body weight going towards the wall to then catch the hold. If I go straight across, I'll always be falling out, and then I won't be able to hold on to the hold that I'm aiming for. So I'm going to swing dynamically into that hold. Okay, so the other subtle thing that I did to make sure I didn't fall off with this handhold was I really quickly changed my feet. So I planted my right on the volume first, and as quickly as I could, I got my left on there and then flagged the right out onto the wall. And that makes a massive difference in terms of stopping me from what's called barn dooring, where if I left my right foot planted, my body weight would have swung this way and I wouldn't have been able to hold on to the hold. So changing my feet very quickly, getting the left on there and then flagging with the right and pushing into the wall with the right foot, that's what stopped me from swinging around and falling off the hold. Okay, the next route that I'm going to talk through is going to be some slabs. So these ones, obviously the wall is slanted away from you. Even more important on these to get as close to the wall as possible. You basically want to be scraping your nose on the wall. If you don't look like Rudolph at the end of the climb, then you're probably not close enough to the wall, essentially, when it comes to slabs. So hips and all of your weight in as far as possible. To allow that to be done even more easily, it's really key that we place our toes on rather than going in with the side foot. So placing my toe allows me to rotate my foot, and it also brings my heels out, which allows me to get the rest of my body a lot closer to the wall as well. So that's really key. I've not actually tried this yet, but I'm going to try and do this V0 without hands. So I'm not going to use my hands at all. I might rest them on the wall, but I'm not going to pull with them. Just to show how you can do slabs without the need for using your hands if you have the right technique. Didn't quite work. Okay, I probably showed the wrong route to do that on. These volumes actually stick out quite a long way, further than I realised, and I couldn't actually get as close to the wall as I'd liked. So I ended up using my hands, but hopefully you get the principle of what I was trying to say there. Okay, so I just came outside to film the outro for this because it's a Friday night and it's like a club in there. Music is absolutely popping off. There's hips and limbs everywhere, absolutely bouncing inside. So you can probably barely hear me, so that's why I've come out here just to film this. I was going to do the outro inside, but I actually bumped into a mate and we started climbing some harder climbs, so a bit of a change from the video. But yeah, I hope you found that really useful, quite insightful. Hope my tips were clear enough, articulated in a good enough way. Something that I'm working on is my communication, because I've seen some of the videos from going through the editing, I repeat myself a lot and say a lot of nothing and have a lot of filler words. So really trying hard to kind of take that out of my speech because it's not good enough right now. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Would really appreciate that, helps me out a lot. If you found it helpful, let me know in the comments more of what you want to see, if my tips were useful, anything else, more specific routes maybe, if you want to see more overhangs, more slabs, whatever it is, let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to obviously include more of that in the future. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, really appreciate it. As always, grab life by the plums, and I will see you in the next one.